Hello and thanks for staying on Bernama TV. Here are this week's top stories. President Trump says US is working on food deliveries to Gaza. Also, President Zelensky says Ukraine has not received Russia's peace settlement memorandum. Also, in our POV segment later, I'll be speaking with AHMAD RAMLI, the Undersecretary from the International Relations Division, Ministry of Youth and Sports, and we'll be talking about a sustainable and inclusive future for ASEAN youth. I'm PASHA RAHIM. You're watching The World on Bernama TV. We begin Bernama World with this. According to the Palestine Red Crescent, at least 45 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes across Gaza yesterday. One of the deadliest strikes hit several homes in Bureij camp, claiming 23 lives. Footage showed rescuers carrying bodies from the rubble. Air raids continued throughout the day, with attacks reported in Nuseirat and Deir al-Balah as the violence in Gaza escalates once again. Meanwhile, a UN warehouse in Gaza was stormed by desperate civilians as famine looms, with 2 reported dead. The World Food Programme urged more food aid. Though Israel eased an 11-week aid blockade, UN officials say deliveries are still inadequate. The US is preparing new ceasefire terms as Israeli strikes continue. Tensions rise over aid control, with Israel favoring the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation of the GHF, while the UN refuses to cooperate with it. Amid chaotic distributions, over 840,000 meals have been delivered, but access and safety remain major obstacles. In the meantime, Palestinians in Khan Yunis received aid from the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which opened a second site and distributed 14,550 food boxes, or equivalent to over 840,000 meals. Despite ongoing efforts, aid delivery faces major challenges, including looting of UN trucks and a GHF site being overrun. The UN and other aid groups refuse to join the GHF system, citing concerns over neutrality as hunger worsens amid Israel's blockade. Concurrently, according to the US President Donald Trump, his administration is working on accelerating food deliveries to Palestinians living in Gaza.
We're dealing with the whole situation in Gaza. We're getting food to the people of Gaza. It's been a very nasty situation, very nasty fight. October 7th was a very nasty day, the worst that I think I've ever seen. It was a horrible day, and people aren't going to forget that either. So we'll see how that all works out. We're not happy about that situation. I think we're doing very well with Iran. I think we're doing very well with Gaza. But we are doing very well with Iran, and I think we're going to see something very sensible, because there are only 2 outcomes. You know what the 2 outcomes is: a smart outcome and there's a violent outcome, and I don't think anybody wants to see the second. But I think we've made a lot of progress, and we'll see. You know, they still have to agree to the final stages of a document, but I think you could be very well surprised what happens there, and it'd be a great thing for them. They could have a great country into the future.
At the UN Security Council meeting yesterday, Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations, Riyad Mansour, delivered an emotional address, breaking down in tears as he described the unbearable suffering of Palestinian children amid the ongoing war in Gaza.
It's unbearable. How could anyone tolerate this horror? Excuse me, Mr. President. I have grandchildren. I know what they mean to their families. And to see the situation of the Palestinians without us having hearts to do something is beyond the ability of any normal human being to tolerate. flames and hunger are devouring Palestinian children. This is why we are so outraged as Palestinians everywhere, the 14 millions of us in the occupied territories, in the diaspora, in the refugee camps, in far places, all the way to California and in between. We love our children. We love our people. We don't want to see them going through this tragedy and this savage attack.
More than 1,300 Palestinian children have been killed and about 4,000 injured since Israel resumed military operations in Gaza following the collapse of a ceasefire in March. Shifting to Ukraine-Russia war update, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Germany's collaboration with Ukraine to develop long-range missiles and its supply of tanks to Kyiv makes it a participant in the Russia-Ukraine war. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, during President Zelensky's Berlin visit, confirmed there would be no range limits on the jointly produced missiles. Lavrov accused Berlin of escalating tensions and urged German leaders to stop the madness. Simultaneously, Russia says it's ready for a new round of direct talks with Ukraine, proposing Istanbul as the venue on June 2nd. Moscow claims it's prepared a detailed peace proposal and wants to discuss a possible ceasefire. The offer follows earlier talks this month, which ended without a deal. Ukraine hasn't responded yet, but Russia says it hopes those serious about peace will back this next step toward ending the war. Still in Ukraine, according to President Volodymyr Zelensky, Kyiv has not received any new memorandum outlining a potential peace deal or ceasefire timeline. He said neither Ukraine's allies nor Turkey, which hosted the first meeting, had seen it. Talks between the two countries in Istanbul earlier this month led nowhere. Ukraine says it's already submitted its proposal and is urging Moscow to respond, while Russia insists certain conditions must be met before a ceasefire can happen. I'm off to a very quick break, and when I come back, I'll be speaking with AHMAD RAMLI. He is the Undersecretary from the International Relations Division of the Ministry of Youth and Sports. We'll be discussing the sustainable and inclusive future for the youth in ASEAN. This is The World on Bernama TV.
Sempena sambutan ulang tahun Hari Keputeraan Rasmi ke bawah Duli Yang Maha Mulia Seri Paduka Baginda Yang di-Pertuan Agong 2025, pelbagai acara rasmi diadakan sepanjang sambutan. Seluruh rakyat Malaysia merafak sembah dan menjunjung kasih setinggi-tingginya di atas pemerintahan Tuanku. Dirgahayu Tuanku.
Anda sedang menonton edisi Asia.
Menampilkan kandungan bual bicara, memaparkan fokus kerjasama ekonomi, pendidikan, kebudayaan dan pelancongan antara China dan Malaysia. Disampaikan sepenuhnya dalam bahasa Melayu terus dari negara Timbuk Besar dalam edisi Asia at ASEAN petang ini setiap Jumaat pukul 5 petang hanya di Bernama TV.
Welcome back. Following the conclusion of the ASEAN Summit, Malaysia continues its role as ASEAN Chair for 2025, a pivotal year that places youth at the heart of regional transformation. As we reflect on key outcomes from the summit, the focus remains on building a sustainable and inclusive future, especially for the next generation. Today, we're joined by Ahmad Faizal Mat Ramli to discuss how ASEAN youth are contributing to regional development, driving innovation, and preparing to lead in a rapidly changing world. Faizal, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Pasha.
So, under Malaysia's ASEAN chairmanship this year, what would you highlight as the key takeaways or lasting contributions in the area of youth development and also regional cooperation?
Thanks, Pasha. I believe that Malaysia's leadership actually has successfully fostered greater youth participation across the ASEAN region through inclusive platforms, such as the recent fourth ASEAN Youth Dialogue and the ASEAN Leaders Interface with ASEAN Youth as the silent of the summit. And these platforms have empowered our young ASEAN leaders to actively contribute to policy dialogues, ensuring that their perspectives are integrated into the regional development agendas. And I would like to also highlight, Pasha, that apart from the ASEAN Youth Dialogue, the Ministry has also started to organize many other youth team initiatives throughout 2025. For instance, later in June, we'll be organizing and focusing on the youth mental health aspect of our youth, in which one of our agencies, the Institute for Youth Research, will be organizing the roundtable discussion on ASEAN youth mental health. Apart from that, we'll be also following through from the ASEAN Youth Dialogue by organizing the ASEAN Youth Leadership Conference later in the year in October. And apart from the substance that were provided during the ASEAN Youth Dialogue, we also be focusing on volunteer programs where we will bringing our ASEAN youth to the rural areas of Sabah and Sarawak to expose them to the life of the indigenous people in Sabah and Sarawak. Apart from the theme for youth initiative, there are also initiatives regarding e-sport, in which KBS, through Impact, our agency, will be organizing the ASEAN Youth Esports Championship in June as well, Pasha. And I believe that our ASEAN Championship has also facilitated deeper collaboration among ASEAN member states in other areas such as skill development, entrepreneurship, and digital innovation for youth. And this has resulted in the establishment of joint programs and knowledge-sharing mechanisms that promote sustainable economic opportunities and resilience among the young people in our region. In the context of promoting sustainable and inclusive youth policies, Malaysia has championed the integration of sustainability principles within our youth development frameworks, emphasizing green initiatives as well as social inclusivity. And I'm sure that this approach aligns very well with ASEAN's broader goals on sustainable development and ensures that our youth are equipped to contribute meaningfully to the region's future. Looking at another element, Pasha, on capacity building and leadership development, we have also lined up a few targeted workshops and mentorship schemes during the course of our ASEAN Championship. I'm sure that the ASEAN youth would have the opportunity and will gain enhanced leadership skill programs to address contemporary challenges, including climate change, digital transformation, as well as social cohesion.
Right. Looking at the ASEAN Work Plan on Youth 2021 to 2025, now it focuses on 5 key priority areas. This includes education and employment, also health. We are also looking at youth resilience. Now, what are some of the progress and challenges that you have observed across the region, and what do you think are the priorities that ASEAN youth should focus on as we approach the next work plan for 2026 to 2030?
I recently attended the senior official meetings on youth in Manila. And during the course of our deliberation, I've seen that the appetite from the ASEAN member states are really, really encouraging. We have seen that there are discourse and discussions on how the youth can further advocate their inclusion in shaping policies related to sustainable development, health, as well as empowerment. And there has been a notable focus on advancing the SDGs with youth pushing for stronger commitment from ASEAN member states to power them as drivers of these goals, as well as be part of the ASEAN Community Vision 2045. I also recently had discussion with some of our ASEAN delegates during the ASEAN Youth Dialogue, and I see there are growing awareness on mental health as well as sexual and reproductive health among the young segment of ASEAN. And I believe the general well-being and health is currently gaining prominence in terms of youth policy and recommendations. And this reflects the growing awareness of our youth and destigmatization of efforts across the region. And we can also see that social protection for marginalized groups is also becoming focus for the youth of ASEAN, looking at persons with disabilities and other vulnerable population, with calls to improve access to education, healthcare, as well as economic opportunities. And of course, you cannot take away the challenges of digital and technology that require further development of accessible education and advanced skills training, particularly in the area of AI, digital literacy, and the fourth industrial revolution. Because you know that the youth of today, they are facing challenges in terms of cyber crimes, misinformation, disinformation, and online abuse.
Right. Looking forward, how do you think we can integrate youth perspectives in policy making?
I'm sure that there are many platforms for us to further include the youth of ASEAN in multiple platforms in ASEAN. Apart from the ministerial or the government platforms, we have also seen the rise of the civil societies and also the NGOs focusing and propagating their voice in the ASEAN platform. And based on what I've seen during the recent senior official meeting on youth, even the ASEAN Secretariat, they have been recognizing many youth NGOs to become partner organizations to further assist and help not only the government, but also having them as equal partners towards youth development and empowerment.
Right. When we're talking about youth development and empowerment, how do you think governments and also societies can best support young people in shaping the future for ASEAN youth?
I'm sure that by having an inclusive and policies and platforms in which the government should further look into establishing policies that institutionalize youth participation in governance and decision making through dialogues, through town halls. I believe that this can create accessible platform for youth voices to be considered in policy making. And I believe that in the context of Malaysia, the soon-to-be launched 13 Malaysia plan will also further embed the importance of youth engagement and also discourse with youth in terms of policy making. And I also would like to highlight the importance of having quality education and skill development by investing in education system that equip our youth with the relevant skills, such as in digital, critical thinking, leadership, as well as sustainability competencies. And I'm sure that our challenges would be to ensure that it is equitable access across urban and rural areas. In addition, PASHA, mental and health well-being, economic opportunities, entrepreneurship, and promoting civic engagement in our discourse will be crucial moving forward, not only for Malaysia, but also as ASEAN as a community.
Right. Lastly, very quickly, Faizal, what are the ministry's hopes and aspirations for ASEAN youth as the region moves toward ASEAN 2045?
I'm sure that there is saying that the time for youth is now. And I'm sure that in the ministry, we have the mindset to empower our change makers, which are the youth of Malaysians and also the ASEAN. And we envision the ASEAN community to have the ASEAN youth as a confident, skilled, and empowered leaders who can actively participate in shaping policies, driving innovation, and addressing regional challenges such as inequality, climate change, and digital transformation. And we aspire for a youth community that celebrates diversity as well as inclusivity, where young people from all backgrounds and marginalized groups have equal opportunities to contribute and lead. And I believe as we talk about the recent Pact for the Future that was announced by UN later last year, I'm sure that the youth of ASEAN will have the opportunities and better engagement and better voices in terms of stewarding the SDGs agenda in their respective countries.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ahmad Faizal. We're definitely looking forward to a brighter future for the ASEAN youth. I'm off to another quick break. We'll be back with more updates. This is The World on Bernama TV. Welcome back. Billionaire Tesla CEO Elon Musk is leaving the Trump administration after a brief but eventful role. A White House official confirmed Musk's departure with offboarding starting soon. Musk thanked President Trump on social media as his 130-day assignment with the Department of Government Efficiency comes to an end. Despite his exit, the administration says efforts to restructure and streamline the federal government will continue. In other news, according to EU officials, the European Union and the United Arab Emirates have officially begun negotiations for a new trade deal. The UAE's trade minister says he's aiming to seal the agreement within 6 months. He also made clear that this will not affect broader trade talks with the Gulf Cooperation Council. The UAE, one of the Gulf's most influential economies, is pushing new global trade deals to reduce its reliance on oil and support long-term growth. Moving on to the Middle East, after years of war and sanctions, Syrians are cautiously hopeful following the recent US decision to lift sanctions on their country. The Syrian pound has gained value, making basic goods more affordable for everyday people. Business owners believe this change will ease economic pressures and encourage international trade to return. Experts say this step could increase money sent home by Syrians abroad, attract foreign investment and boost aid, offering a vital chance for Syria's recovery and rebuilding. Next, 2 years of war in Sudan have devastated infrastructure, leaving bridges destroyed, power stations bombed and hospitals looted. With an estimated $1 trillion needed for reconstruction, ongoing conflict and reduced global aid make recovery unlikely. Khartoum faces severe power, water and healthcare shortages. Oil production has halved and refining has halted. The UN pushes small-scale rehabilitation like solar water pumps amid the world's worst humanitarian crisis, with 13 million displaced and tens of thousands dead or injured. Next, Xiaomi's new YU7 electric SUV debuted in 13 Beijing showrooms on Thursday, ahead of its official July launch. Positioned as a rival to Tesla's Model Y, the YU7 follows the successful SU7 sedan, which has been outselling the Model 3 since December. The YU7 was displayed without interior access and pricing or pre-orders have not been announced. CEO Lei Jun confirmed pricing details will be revealed in July. Turning from EV updates to the ship that's set to sail. A full-scale replica of Christopher Columbus's flagship, the now Santa Maria, is now open to the public at London's St. Catherine docks. The 93-foot ship was built in Spain using oak and steel, staying true to the 1492 original. Visitors can explore its 5 decks, complete with cannons, lanterns, even a skeleton captain. The Spanish crew sailed from Andalusia and the ship will stay docked in London until June 8th. And that's a wrap for this hour's broadcast. We wish our friends from Sarawak and Sabah who are celebrating Hari Gawai and Pesta Keamatan a joyful and meaningful celebration. May you be blessed with good health, success and happiness always. Don't forget to visit Bernama.com and follow us on all our social media channels, YouTube, X, Instagram and Facebook for the latest news. You can also receive updates from Bernama Radio at 93.9 FM. This has been The World on Bernama TV. I'm PASHA RAHIM. Thanks for watching.